Hello, everybody. Welcome to Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Izanga Shamsta, and they call me Uncle Solomon. It's a pleasure to have you here in Solomon's Temple. Here in the temple, we get to discuss everything concerning the Christian faith. We get to analyze issues, investigate issues, sometimes commentate on issues, and we bring guests and to try to have an interview, which is what we do sometimes also. So thank you so much for joining me. I was actually shocked. There's quite a lot of people that have been waiting, lined up and waiting. I got Choni here from Linksfield in Johannesburg. She said, "Good evening to Uncle Solomon and everyone watching from Linksfield in Johannesburg." I have Emmanuel Cabo all the way from Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. Thank you, Emmanuel. And also there's Lindy Way from Botswana. Thank you, Lindy. From Atlanta, Georgia is Chi, fine girl. We got Victor from Nairobi, Kenya. Shamin Rose from Virginia in the USA. Wow, got quite a lot of people all lined up. Nicholas Bongani said, "I am looking forward to the interview." Yeah, we're gonna have a wonderful time. About an hour all together. We're gonna spend that time. Evelyn from Switzerland is here, and then there's Dr. Natasha Opoku, who is from the USA. Thank you, guys. There's a viewer from Mozambique. Thank you so much for joining. Sandra from the UK. Thank you so much, everybody. Obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Well, tonight is gonna be a continuation and build up to the story that has been the biggest story in Africa, I would say, not just around the church, but in Africa in the last 3 days since Sunday. A lot of people said maybe TB Joshua was supposed to actually resurrect today after 3 days. Maybe he was just trying to be like Jesus. You never know. Well, I don't think so. Everybody is destined to live and to die once. So I would be discussing a whole lot. There's been a lot of different speculation about his burial, and a lot of people are asking questions. Where is he going to be buried? Where is he from? Would he be buried at the Synagogue Church of All Nations? Would he be buried in Lagos? Would he be buried within the church premises? Would he be buried at a cemetery? And a whole lot of different questions, that people are going to be asking. And I think for me, it's very significant where a person like TB Joshua is buried, because for a lot of people, he meant quite a lot to them. Not me, but for a lot of people, he meant quite a lot to them. And then there's also family dynamics that is also involved. There is his immediate family, his wife and children. Maybe they have their own preference. And then there are his siblings, his side of the family, his cousins who are older. And, in an African culture, there are ways that you bury people. There are traditions and rituals to be done. Different cultures have different traditions and rituals, and every African culture basically has that. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Solomon's Temple. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel immediately. Solomon's Temple. That is, if you haven't, there are great videos there that I'm sure would help you and enrich your life.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a High Court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.
Well, you're still on Solomon's Temple right here in this episode and broadcast that is I have with me a friend and the guest. He is quite a lot like me, and I just want to throw it out there. First, you just have to go and follow his YouTube channel and follow him on Facebook and follow him on the different social media. I'm going to post that out. Anyway, just go and check out his surname, basically. Gambakwe. Just go and check it out on Facebook. He is a content creator, and he is also a founder of Gambakwe, which brings a whole lot of news. And I had covered the TB Joshua story from the beginning. We were just talking before we came on live how his breaking news, the first thing he did, just about 3 minutes or so, reached about over 2 million impressions already. So Pardon Gambakwe, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you very much, Solomon, and I really enjoy being on your show. I'm a great fan. I watch you almost every day when I have an opportunity.
I try to watch you too. We're in the same field. It's been you've written quite a bit right from Sunday. You know, you woke up in the morning, instead of going to church, you did the breaking news. You know,
Correct. Yes.
It's been news. Really, for you, how did you receive it, and how have you been processing that?
Okay, so Gambakwe Media has a wide audience. We don't do just religion. We do a lot of different type of stories, from entertainment, politics, and obviously, if something comes out, we're on top of it and we release information. So what happened is I woke up around 6 a.m. in the morning on Sunday, and I saw the news. There was one of the journalists in Zimbabwe who was very close to TB Joshua. So she posted a picture with TB Joshua. And I looked at it and I read it, and I didn't understand what she was saying. Then I read again, and I realized that she was announcing his death. She was probably the first journalist in Southern Africa to produce that story. So immediately we started to run with it. I started to look online to see what was the news. And what was missing was what had happened. So if you look at the video we did, it was about how did TB Joshua die, which was the question on everyone's mind. Hence that video had all those millions of impressions and over 1 million views so far. Because that is the question. How did this man die?
And that is quite that is quite true, because a lot of people would be asking that question: how did he die? Like, is TB Joshua, you know, is a faith healer. He's somebody that millions troop to Lagos, Nigeria every year to go in there. At one point, out of every 10 people that visit Nigeria from outside of Nigeria, 6 visit because they are going to the Synagogue Church of All Nations. So annually, he draws about 2 million people into the country. So obviously, people would want to know, and they come for different reasons. Some of them are sick, some of them need intervention in their lives, and a whole lot of stuff. So it's actually the question that a lot of people would be asking. But looking at Southern Africa, TB Joshua has a lot of, you know, followers in Southern Africa, from Botswana, Zimbabwe. There's quite a lot of his spiritual sons also and followers. South Africa, Namibia. How would you say the conversation has been going so far?
Yeah, so Solomon, what you're saying is true. In Zimbabwe, almost all the prophets in Zimbabwe are the spiritual sons of TB Joshua. So if you look at Prophet Magaya, he has openly said he's the spiritual son. And Prophet Magaya was in the process of sending, I think, 2 elephants and a giraffe and so on. He just posted it on his social media. TB Joshua was in the process of opening a zoo in Nigeria, and he had requested Magaya a few days earlier for these animals. And Magaya had actually gone to the embassy of Nigeria in Zimbabwe to try and move these animals to Nigeria. If you look at Prophet P. Alpha, one of the most prominent young pastors and prophets in Zimbabwe, he has openly confessed that TB Joshua was his spiritual father. If you look at Prophet Advocate Joshua, one of the people that we feature very regularly on Gambakwe Media, he has openly spoke about how he was inspired by TB Joshua since he was a young boy. In fact, before he was even a man, when he was in school, he was inspired by TB Joshua. TB Joshua is a big name in Zimbabwe. When his building crashed or collapsed back in the day, yes, many people in Zimbabwe died in that building. The former president or former prime minister of Zimbabwe, Morgan Tsvangirai, he was prophesied. This is a big legend in Zimbabwe. He was prophesied by TB Joshua that he will never be a president of Zimbabwe. And these are all these big things that are happening. There are many celebrities who have come out with stories of how TB Joshua assisted them. I think we can talk of, if you remember Jinimbi, the manager of Jinimbi, Miss Shirley, she came out and said, when her father was very sick, and all the doctors had said there was no hope for him, TB Joshua had actually prayed for her father, and he became well. Vimbai Mtiniri, I'm sure I've got the first name right. She's one of the prominent people or journalists. She's based in Nigeria now. She's married in Nigeria. She spoke about how TB Joshua assisted her and her family when his sister died. So there's so many stories about TB Joshua and what he has done and how he has influenced people down in Southern Africa. It's been a massive response since the death of TB Joshua.
That's right. Everybody has a different experience with TB Joshua. My experience or my exposure to TB Joshua and the people that got in touch with me are totally people that have been victims, in his hands. And also, like I've said previously, I've received death threats from TB Joshua's people. So that's been my experience. But then other people have different experiences. But now TB Joshua passed away. And everybody is asking the question, so what next? Where is he going to be buried and all that kind of stuff? And let's even look at the way we do African burial, how we bury people in Africa. The way you bury somebody who is not influential is totally different from the way you bury somebody who is influential, isn't it?
Correct. And this has been a big question. TB Joshua, is he a private individual or is he a public figure? So the question for us who don't know TB Joshua personally, people like me have never talked to him. We see him from afar. We see him from his sermons. For example, where is he going to be buried? Under what custom? Where does he come from as a person? What tribe in Nigeria? What are the customs for that tribe? Does he have family, mother and father, and so on? So maybe you could clarify, because you probably have more knowledge about such things.
Yeah, from my knowledge, TB Joshua is from the west side of Nigeria. He's from the Yoruba tribe. So in Nigeria, when you go to the west side of Nigeria, you get the Yoruba. That in itself, they're trying to create what they call the Oduduwa Republic now. They're all descendants of Oduduwa. So they they have different communities, and each community have a king they call Oba, right? You can have Oba in a smaller community, small towns, and then in the big community, and then they have their head, sort of like this. What do I say? Like the spiritual head, sort of, is like the Oni of Ife, and Ife is like the birthplace of the people of Yoruba. So TB Joshua is obviously from there. So when you talk about the areas in the west, which is Ondo, Ogun, Oshun, Lagos, they're all, in the western, most of it is Yoruba. But TB Joshua himself is from a state called Ondo State. And Ondo State, I think I actually have a map here or so. I hope I put it on. Yes, I got it. So So this is what we're looking at. So as you can see, the yellow part of it there, that's Ondo, you know, and Ondo is basically where TB Joshua is from. You know, the capital city is right under Ondo. It's called Akure. So you see Ondo, you see Osun, you see Oyo, you see Ogun, you see Lagos. All this are part of the western part of Nigeria. So Lagos is very small, believe it or not. We hear about Lagos quite a lot, but Lagos is very small there, just by the coast. So right there is just the coast outside, you know, the gray part of it. So TB Joshua is from the yellow part here, in a place called Akoko Arigidi in Ondo State, the yellow part here. And then he moved later to Lagos, and Lagos is the big city. It's like the Johannesburg, you know, everybody wants to go to. It's like Harare. It's like you're in Kenya, you know, you want to make it, you need to go to Nairobi, you know. So he moved there to Lagos, where he started, you know, doing his thing, obviously. Created Synagogue Church of All Nations in Lagos and all that kind of stuff. So to understand really where he comes from, you know that he's been based in Lagos for over 20 years now, but he's not really from Lagos. He wasn't born in Lagos. He was born in Ondo State, in a place called Akoko, and that is where he grew up. And even now, what we hear today about, you know, the tension around where he should be buried, you know, comes from where he comes from. And you know that the Yoruba people are very cultural, just like a lot of Nigerian people. There's no way, you don't get people being buried in the city that much. You know, you take them to their village, the town where they come from, and that's where you bury them. So right now there's a bit of a tension because he was a prominent person in his area where he comes from. You know, the area where they never had electricity for like 6 years, he's put on electricity for them. You know, other areas are struggling to have electricity, waiting for the government, but he put on electricity for them. He has helped them. And his plan was, once he turned 50, he's going to start planning to return back to his town where he comes from, in Akoko, you know, so he could retire there, so he could move everything there and operate from there. So that is why we see the Oba, who is the king of that town now, is saying, no, you can't bury him in Lagos. He's not from Lagos. So you have to take him home. Home means you take him to Akoko Arigidi, where he comes from. That's where you should bury him. But then there is tension, because obviously he's been in Lagos for a long time. He's built quite a lot of massive, his Synagogue Church of All Nations here in Lagos. And maybe the wife and the kids may want him to be buried here at the Synagogue Church of All Nations. Maybe that would be some sort of a tourist attraction for people. Or maybe they will believe, well, that would keep his spirit around, and then his miracles and all these things will keep going. So there's all these kind of beliefs. But where he comes from, the town, the Oba, the king, is saying, no, you can't. If you want the people of the town to be angry with you, make sure you don't allow us to bury him in the town. So it's quite a big thing, you know. And I don't think, you know, in a Nigerian community where the wife, when you lose your husband like this, it's almost like the wife would not have a say. You would have to depend on the siblings of the deceased. You know what I'm saying? You know, the family of the deceased to decide where to bury him, how to go about it, and all that kind of thing. So, but TB Joshua himself, moving to Lagos, that was where he made his name. That was where he made his fame and fortune. That was where he became a big name. But still, he kept a relationship with his hometown, Akoko. To be honest with you, some of his brothers actually live in the town, in Akoko. They don't live in Lagos. You know, they live back in the small town, in the village, back in Ondo State, in Akoko, where he comes from. So he's a real.
How long is the distance there between Akoko and Lagos?
Well, it shouldn't take you You know, Nigeria, there's there's quite a lot of traffic going into Lagos, but it's not really. Maybe it should take you maybe about 4 hours, you know, 4 or 5 hours maybe, and all that is just maybe because of the road and also because of traffic going into Lagos. But it's not really far. You can see the green patch, you can see the yellow patch there, and you can see Lagos, you know, are right there. And Akoko, where he comes from, is just not far from the middle of the green patch of the map.
Okay, I understand he had a jet. Do you think if he was going to be buried at his home, they would fly his body there? How would this work?
It's not going to work. It's not. He has a jet. He has a very flamboyant jet. His jet is worth about $60 million. You know, a lot of people always say, "Oh, well, Solomon, this guy was humble. He never really lived the flamboyant life." No, TB Joshua had a private jet. Believe it or not, he had a private jet, just like a lot of other Nigerian prophets and pastors, because having a jet is like the in thing. But having a jet is one thing, and having an airport that this jet could land in his local government, you know, in Akoko, is not possible. They do not have that, right? But in the capital city of the state, that is Ondo State, that is Akure. If you look at this map here, the yellow patch here, you can see Ondo. So right under is Akure, and Akure is the capital city of the state. So they would have to fly him from Lagos. You can see Lagos there. And then they fly to Akure. From Akure, they would now have to take on, you know, they have to use the road to be able to get to where he's from. That's the only way if they're gonna bury him there, that's the only way that they're gonna bury him there.
Okay, and his wife, where is she from?
She's also from she's Yoruba. She's always in the background, and not much is known about her, you know. But all I can say is she's Yoruba speaking, you know. She's not somebody that you see quite often. And maybe it's because he's his style. Maybe he's a very traditional person, you know, where you don't see, your wife is just there to take care of the home and take care of the kids, that kind of thing. And you don't really get to hear. You only see her once in a while, you know, out there talking with the microphone and all that kind of stuff. And I think even because of that, it will tell you that at the end of the day, his wife, even if she wants him to be buried in Lagos, she would not be able to succeed. You know, it's obvious that the wife doesn't really have a big voice. But then he has children, and one of his kids is actually an attorney. You know, so she's a legal person. So right there might be, or she just got married. There's one that also got, I think 2 of them are married now. So right there might be a bit of a tension. Depending on the children now siding with the mother to say, look, hey, we're based in Lagos. Let's do that here. But in Nigeria, at the end of the day, you always have to obey culture and tradition. If the elders from the village, from the town where he comes from, and his siblings from the town where he comes from comes out and say, look, this is the desire. We want him to be buried here. I don't think there's much the wife and the children could do.
Okay. So I think the burial part we'll probably know more about a few days' time. I also wanted to maybe ask regarding the church.
Yes.
TB Joshua, does he have a structure? Senior pastors, who else is in the top of the church? And the church, can it survive without him?
He has a structure, but I'm not sure the structure is strong enough. I think TB Joshua, from Emmanuel TV to the Synagogue Church of All Nations, it is let me say, I really don't want to call it a church, because for me it's a shrine, but let me just use the word church anyway. It's just an English word. He has a structure, but you see, his church was built using one man. You know, he's a face. So when you build any structure using just one person to push it and build it, when that person is not around, you're going to have serious problem. You're going to have fighting between people, or you're just going to, just going to be destroyed. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, look, just give TB Joshua's Synagogue Church of All Nations 2-3 years. Yeah, they're going to begin to vamoose. They're going to disappear. Does he have a structure of leadership and elders? He has leadership and elders and deacons. And then he has his wise men, obviously. A lot of us see the wise men. There was about 12 of them. And they're always the one that accompany him when he preaches. When he's not around, they're the ones that go out there. They're the ones that we see. People like then John Chi, who left him. He's a Cameroonian who spent quite a couple of years in Nigeria, but he left him. He's out now in Yaoundé. He is he's running his own thing there, and there's another of his disciple who actually left, and he is now in Abuja, in the capital of Nigeria. So some of them have left. So there's that level. There's obviously does he have a board? Maybe he has a board, but not people that are really strong enough to tell him what to do. Who make decision? He makes decisions. So he's the alpha and the omega of everything. And that's where the problem would come, in the church not really moving forward. When it comes to the preaching and teaching, so-called preaching and teaching, there are disciples and there are evangelists. We see some of the female evangelists, they're always the one, making things happen and all that kind of stuff. So there's the disciples and then there's the evangelists. The disciples are the first level of spiritual authority after him. And then the evangelists are now the second layer of spiritual authority after the disciples, right? And then he has a lot of businesses, obviously. So he has people who are managing his businesses, that is an extension of the church. From visitors coming to how to house them. You remember the building that came down that you spoke about in 2014? That's accommodation they make money from. So they provide accommodation for you within their premises. They make money from it. Feeding and everything, they make money from it. People that come in to visit the Synagogue Church of All Nations, they make money from it. But for it to survive is really going to be difficult. Because right now, again, because it was built, people go to Nigeria not because, okay, here's the thing, right? Gambakwe, people go to Nigeria not because they're going to Synagogue Church of All Nations. They go to Nigeria because they're going to TB Joshua. Okay. Now, TB Joshua is not there anymore. Would they go to Synagogue Church of All Nations if they have another leader? I don't think so. I think 9 out of 10 people would not go because they used to go there because of TB Joshua, but he isn't around anymore. So that in itself is really going to affect the materials that they produce. Obviously, they're going to ride on his legacy, what he has created so far and all that kind of stuff. But how long can you do that? Maybe a few years. And maybe his wife, don't be surprised that maybe his wife will step forward, and begin to lead, because if not, then there's going to be a whole lot of problem. I don't see, that's why we see churches being taken over by family. It becomes like a family business, because sometimes when an external person comes in, you don't trust them, or they begin to do things their own way that you do not really appreciate. So that's what I really foresee.
Okay, you mentioned his businesses. Can you give us an idea of what he had besides the hotel? Is he also involved in anything big like manufacturing, banking, all those kind of things?
Yeah, he invested his money. From what I know, there was a research, one of these financial research platform that did a research on him that actually said that he's worth about $150 million. That's TB Joshua. And I wouldn't be surprised at all that he's worth that kind of money, because a lot of people he has created the Synagogue Church of All Nations in such a way that it's not just a church, it's a hotel. It's not just a hotel, it's like a place of rest, It's not just that, but it's like a hospitality industry in itself. It's like a huge hospitality industry. But he makes money from that. And also he makes money a lot from people. When he started, people who gives, there are people that will go to TB Joshua and write a check of $1 million to him. it's easy to do that. That's why you see Nigerian pastors, a lot of them are men of God. They have so much money because somebody will just say, look, I'm convicted to give you. And Nigerians know how to give, not just outside of Nigeria. They know how to give. But over the years, he's used a lot of his money even in South Africa. From what I know, he owns like game farms, like lodges, around South Africa. He's invested his money into real estate, so he has quite a lot of solid real estate, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. He's invested his money into buying shares, in certain businesses across the world. Unlike people like Pastor Chris, that Pastor Chris, they put in some money. Like, he used to run a newspaper. I'm not sure if the newspaper is still there. A digital platform. I've forgotten the name of the digital platform again that Christ Embassy was pushing at one point. He wasn't that way. And TB Joshua never built like a university like a lot of other ministries and teachers and pastors the way they do it in Nigeria. But he has put in his money there. So he seems to be very not too careless with his money, but he put them into real solid places. And remember also, he gets advice from a lot of people who are not Nigerians, real solid business people. Most of the people that, advise him that he trusts were not actually Nigerians, that would trust their business sense, that would trust their business ideas. They're not Nigerians. So he gets money and he puts money here, puts money there, and puts money there. So we hope to see how actually his family is and the church is going to be able to put all that together.
Okay, then I think we need to understand a bit more.
Yes,
you've been very critical about TB Joshua. I've been watching you, and a lot of people have been wondering. You didn't like TB Joshua. Am I correct? And why?
No, I like TB Joshua, but I don't like the things that TB Joshua has done. So we have to separate the person from the issue, from what he's done. In my home, I pray for TB Joshua. I've been praying for TB Joshua for so many years. So I don't do the prayer of Lord, destroy him or curse him. No. I pray for his salvation. Because for me, knowing TB Joshua, he's not a Christian. If you know where TB Joshua started, from home in Akoko, when he moved to Lagos, he was like a voodoo priest. He was like a sangoma or nyanga, a witch doctor. That's who he is. A lot of part of his family are Muslims, actually. I think one of his parents was actually Muslim. But that's no hesitation, no problem with that. But he was uneducated. And just during the late 90s, when the Pentecostal church in Nigeria was really taking off, he saw an opportunity for him to kind of like come in. So he reinvented himself. He was never born again. There was a video, actually, I think they took it off YouTube. They took all of that videos off YouTube, where they were asking him, and it's an interview, in his words, when did you get born again? He said he got born again in his mother's womb. That's the words of TB Joshua, not my word. Because he was never born again. He never really understood it. He just saw an opportunity, and being a spiritual person, and he was a very spiritual person. Does he have supernatural powers? Yes, he has supernatural powers. But is that supernatural powers from God? The supernatural powers are not from God. And there was a point in my life in 2000s where I was actually defending TB Joshua. Let me be honest with you. Where I tell people like, look, hey, just leave him alone. If he's not of God, we're going to see it. Let's just leave him there. And I intentionally just said, let's just leave him there. But my first hesitation to questioning his credibility was when I did a story in 2010 through one of the prophets who was there, who was the second in command, and he had left. And because he was frustrated with everything that was going on there, and he now started speaking and giving the truth. And he gave me his side of the story. I asked them to give me their side of the story, but then they never did. And then I started getting death threats, and then they started going behind my back to really destroy my relationships. That then I was running a magazine and destroy my relationship. That was when I was like, whoa, but if you have integrity as a man of God, I didn't need to defend my integrity. You know what I'm saying? You can abuse me and curse me all that you want. I know it's not the truth. So I don't need to do anything to silence you. And then once I began, after that story, that was when people started coming to me all over the world, basically, with their story, what they experienced in the hands of TB Joshua. They know him personally. In synagogue, some of them in the church there, from money issue to sexual abuse, spiritual abuse. Some of them work with the TV department, how they edit videos. You remember TB Joshua, really, he is a mastermind when it comes to using visuals and videos and online content. He actually set the pace for a lot of these, Pentecostal preachers in Africa. They learn from him. He's like, no, I give him a thumbs up for that. He did it like nobody else. He used it in a way that was just so good for his ministry, and he grew his ministry that you would see and believe it. So that was my issue with him. So it's not much more of issue of TB Joshua, because for me as a Christian, I need to say the truth. I don't hate anybody, but I would disagree with you. But disagreeing with you doesn't mean that I hate you. I just hate what you did, but not you as a person. You as a person, I'm called to love you. I'm called to help you. I'm called to support you, but I cannot support things that are not right and things that are not, that I feel that was done wrongly, especially using the Bible to achieve that. And I think that for me, if you think about the legacy of TB Joshua, I don't see any legacy of being a philanthropist. No, I don't see any legacy of being a great man of God. He wasn't a great man of God. He wasn't a man of God at all for me. He wasn't born again, but he was a mastermind. He was a top deceptor. Those kind of people who can deceive so well, and they only come around maybe once in 50, 100 years. And this time it came from a Koko in Ondo State, from Nigeria in Africa, and that's TB Joshua.
Okay, I think then my final question, or trying to help everyone to understand, is now that TB Joshua is gone, what is the hierarchy? The top 10 or so prophets in Nigeria, who are there now at the top?
Hey, are you saying false prophets or real prophets?
No, in terms of visibility, who is now more visible? Yeah.
I mean, there are people like them, Pastor Chris, who could be prophetic, but they don't call themselves prophets, or people like them, like Enoch Adeboye, who still calls himself a pastor, So if you're looking at prophets, or you're looking at just men of God generally, but there is a very dangerous and very, I would say very dangerous guy that is coming out from, I think is it Warri, in Nigeria, Prophet Jeremiah. He's affiliated to Bushiri, affiliated to Hubert Angel. He's also he's a mastermind. He's a mastermind of note. He's somebody who has a great high level of deception. I see him jostling now to get the attention now that TB Joshua is gone. I see them now really scrambling to get part of the crowd that TB Joshua used to control and used to have. And then there is also a guy called Joshua Iginla. He's based in Abuja, Nigeria, and he shuttles between Johannesburg and Abuja, Nigeria. He actually left his wife and married a South African wife, So now he's actually married to 2 women, which is bigamy in South Africa. You know, he's trying to build his church here. It's called Champion Assembly or Champion something. You know, he's very much into the whole occultic thing that can really manipulate people, that can also get, if you remember the guy called Simon the Sorcerer, is it Simon the Sorcerer? Yeah. Who uses a girl in the book of Acts to really get prophecies or whatever, you know, to sort of like get word from the person for people. And he's very good at that. You know, he has a couple of branches in Zambia, in South Africa. And then there is Johnson Suleiman. Yeah, Johnson Suleiman is another principality. Very much. Been scandals after scandals. And recently I exposed him, you know, just the fact that he was with his pastor's wife, you know. But he's very influential. He travels around quite a lot, Canada, the US, Italy, around South Africa and all that kind of stuff. So those are some of the guys that are really coming up. Those are some of the guys that, and to be honest with you, TB Joshua was smart. TB Joshua was smart. He was a leader in so many ways when it comes to creativity, how to use the media, the Pentecostal church, how to use the media to manipulate people, how to create miracles, how to fake miracles, how to connect to the occultic, you know, how to hear. He was a leader, because all these guys that you see, they used to study him. They used to study his videos. They used to study the things that he does, just so they can add that to what they do. You know, and now that he's gone, obviously, there's a lot that TB Joshua has done before that if you look at other ministries and other churches, you will see them doing the same thing. If you look at other false prophets and charlatans, you will see them doing almost about the same thing, because they learned from him. Even though he was uneducated. Remember, TB Joshua never had education. He didn't go to school. He left school, I think, primary 4. So he was never educated. Even his English, when he started, his English was very, very poor. He had to, you know, begin to learn to, you know, because he now communicating to a more English people and international people, he had to begin to communicate that way and learn and get his English a little bit correct. So we're still going to face those problems, and we're still going to have the Bushiris in Malawi. We're still going to have some of them in Zambia, in Uganda, in Kenya, people who will be trying to now take over, people who will be trying to now do their own thing. The Makandiwa, obviously, the Magaya that you mentioned in Zimbabwe, you know, but his demise has really opened some sort of, if I was them, I would sit down and think, this is a warning for me to get my house in order. And these guys are stinkingly rich. They are wealthy. They have money. But when you get money that way, what would you use the money for? What would it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And that's the whole thing. And the sad part for me is TB Joshua lost his soul. People can say, look, Solomon, you don't know his last few hours, his last few minutes and all that. Fact is, this guy deceived people for so long. He deceived people and deceived people and deceived people. If you know, I meet the people and I know their pain. That's why I'm able to talk about this. So when I talk so passionately against TB Joshua and what he's doing, is because I feel the pain of the people that took and bought tickets and went to Lagos. Some of them were abused sexually. Some of them lost everything. Some of them experienced a whole lot of different stuff. But there's a lot of false prophets in Nigeria. We hope to see how this is going to pan out anyway.
Okay, Solomon, I don't want to take any more of your time. This is one of the longest videos I've done. Myself, normally I do a video between 2 minutes and 10 minutes.
Yes, my videos are longer, so.
Yes, and I watch all of them. You see, I learned so much about Christianity from you, because I grew up in church, but I'm not at the same level as you are, in terms of spirituality and being close to God. And some of the topics that we have to deal with are obviously far removed from Christianity. And normally I don't judge a situation myself. If you see me talking about somebody, I never judge the person. I don't have an opinion about what they're doing, whether it's right or wrong. And I pretty much leave people to do whatever they're doing. I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So to me, when you give your opinion on Bushiri, on Makandiwa, on all these people, it's really interesting to me, and I want to know. And the information you've given us today, many people did not know about this information, where TB Joshua was from, his family, his wealth, and also the background they've given, all the people that they've talked to. I think it's important. And
yes.
I really appreciate you talking to me about this.
Yes, I think it's, we're called to address issues differently, and I don't expect other people to be like me or to accept what I say. And for me, it's not a big deal if somebody disagrees, and I think it's actually good. It's only healthy, because we're all looking for truth. But when we disagree, we do it respectfully. And also when we disagree, we can still have a relationship, to judge in the Bible is not a sin. The Bible is very clear about that. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians, who am I to judge those who are outside of the church? Am I not to judge those in the church? So technically, as a Christian, I don't have the right to judge people who are not Christians, people who are Muslims, Scientologists, Buddhists. I can't judge them, because I'm not going to be able to say, no, but according to the Bible, this is what the Bible says. No, they don't subscribe to the Bible. So, and to judge somebody is not to condemn the person. A lot of us think judging is condemnation. No, judging is not condemnation. Go check the dictionary. Judging is just evaluating the issue. You are evaluating the issue. That's what you're doing. We judge every day. We judge the friends that our kids should be around and not to be around. Our parents do that. We judge people. We see them in church. We judge this, we judge that. So it's not really a wrong thing. But there are certain people that are called to, maybe God will give me a certain insight more compared to other people. And there are certain Christians that just feel to judge is wrong and a sin. But to judge is not wrong and a sin. It's just, and it's because we don't judge things, especially in the church and with pastors and prophets. That's why we follow all these false prophets and charlatans, because we don't sit down and judge and said, okay, based on what this person is teaching, is that true? Is that scriptural? Is that in the Bible or not in the Bible? But we don't sit down and do that. We want everything easy. We want it now. We want it this way. We want it that way. I'm actually trying to get this verse here. Let me put it out there, because for a lot of people, they see this, or maybe they had never seen that before, or they've seen it before, but then they don't really understand it, or they would say, well, the Bible says, if you are without sin, you throw the first stone. But who was Jesus speaking to? Jesus was speaking to the Pharisees. The people who are condemning the woman were doing the same sin. They were living the same sin. So if I am cheating on my wife, I don't have the right to condemn somebody who's cheating on his wife. That would be hypocrisy. And Jesus condemned hypocrisy. And that was what the Pharisees were doing. They were totally hypocrites. they were showing their hypocrisy. So let me just finally show you this, where I was talking about this is the verse there. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 12. It says, what business is it of mine to judge those outside the church? Are you not to judge those inside? And we also have to look at context. Who are outside the church? Who are inside the church? And now if you have a problem with somebody who is inside the church, judging those who are inside the church, so you're technically saying, if I see somebody who is young and destroying their life through alcohol consumption excessively, I shouldn't talk to them. If I see a young man or a young woman who's just sleeping around, I shouldn't talk to them. It's none of my business. I should allow the Holy Spirit to convict them. You know, so we have to get to a place as a church where we judge things. It's not a sin to judge. We do that outside of the church. Why can't we do that? When you want to vote for a politician, you look at them and you judge them in so many different ways. When you want to go into a business with somebody, you look at certain things, you make judgment. Judgment is not condemnation. I do not condemn TB Joshua. Only God can condemn. But I have the right to judge because I'm looking for truth. And TB Joshua being human, Makandiwa being human, Zondo being human, Bushiri being human, I don't want to trust human beings. I want to judge first and trust the God in what they are saying, if God is there or God is not there. So that's about it. I just wanted to share that. Well, thank you so much, bro. Where do you see now with TB Joshua passing? I think the Zimbabwean government was talking about the importance of religious tourism in Zimbabwe, because you have quite a lot of prophets there, because religious tourism obviously boosts economy of countries. And in Zimbabwe, how would you see that? Have there been anything like that going on, or is not really some sort of formal like TB Joshua's?
Okay. Have you been to Zimbabwe?
I've been to Bulawayo. I've never been to Harare.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you, and one day I want to take you
okay,
with me, and we go together, and I want to take you to these prophets and you meet them. Most of these guys, I know them personally.
Okay.
In a way, most of the prophets in Zimbabwe, I'm sure if I wanted to meet them with you, they would agree. For example, you always talk about Makandiwa, right? Makandiwa, when he was a student in Bulawayo, that was in 2003. I was in the same church with Makandiwa. He was not a prophet at that time. So we're now in 2021. In 2003, Makandiwa was not a prophet. He was a student pastor. But he had incredible powers. I can tell you that I saw him myself before he had anything. He transformed the Apostolic Faith Mission of Zimbabwe. It was a dead church, an old church. And he brought change into that church. Similarly, prophets like Prophet Advocate Joshua, very, very powerful, but very small. They don't have a big congregation yet. When he predicts that someone is going to die within a month, they're going to die within a month. It has happened so many times. Politicians, and I'm sure you know about Jinimbi, the death of Jinimbi. He prophesied that.
Jinimbi, yes.
Yeah, so we have a lot of powerful young prophets. But as you know, prophecy is also power, and it tends to corrupt the way you were saying. If you become a prophet and you become prominent, it's like you have this power that you can impose on people and they do what you want.
Right.
So it's important for context, like the way you talk about Nigeria and the way you understand it. To us, it's not as clear as it is to you. So that's why I'm saying it's very, very important for us to go to Zimbabwe together very soon when the COVID is over. I also want to talk about prophets like Bushiri. You have personal experience with Bushiri. I do have personal experience with Bushiri.
I've met him. I had a meeting with him. I spent about 3 hours. Somebody actually forced me to go to that meeting. I said I wasn't going because why do you want me to meet Bushiri? He's a false prophet. But they managed to get me there. Yeah.
So personally myself, Bushiri closed my YouTube channel. The pain that I felt when Bushiri and his people closed my YouTube channel, it's deep, but it goes with the business, like what we're doing now.
Yes.
He was trying, at that time, Bushiri was one of the most powerful people in South Africa. He was probably more powerful than certain ministers in South Africa. But in an instant, that can all be taken away from him. He's just a human. If you take away the bodyguards, the money, the congregation,
right,
he just becomes another young man from Malawi. And this is what I think it's important for people to understand. As Africans, the things that we build, you mentioned it earlier, they depend on one man. Very rarely do we build something that lasts after we're gone. So if there's a Gambakwe Media, after 10 years, if Gambakwe is gone, it's gone. Forget about it. This is a big problem that it goes deeper than just TB Joshua or Makandiwa or Bushiri or Hubert Angel. It's how can we build something? So this is the question I ask myself. How can we build something that we can all be proud of? Right. So Nigerians, they should be proud that TB Joshua left this thing. Then let us all rally around it and keep it up. And in 100 years' time, we'll come back and TB Joshua's legacy is still alive.
Now, you just in closing, to look at the burial of TB Joshua, you had a situation recently in Zimbabwe where is it the court or the traditional court said, Robert Mugabe needs to be exhumed and reburied, at a different location. And TB Joshua, now, if they bury him in Lagos, it's always going to be a problem for his people in Akoko, where he comes from. There's always going to be that tension. It's going to be there. What do you think is important? Why is it important for us as Africans? The location where you bury people. By the way, TB Joshua is not going to be buried now. It's not like he's going to be buried next weekend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's going to take weeks. In Nigeria, sometimes it takes 6 months to bury somebody. Like 6 months. Some people stay for a year. Especially the Igbos, so nobody is in a hurry there and all that kind of stuff. They want to give you some sort of a befitting farewell, that kind of thing. But why is it important for us Africans when it comes to location of burying somebody? Because if you bury TB Joshua, if you take him to Akoko and bury him, then you need to put guards around there. Because trust me, there are people who are very much involved in the occultic that would come and exhume his body or part of his body. I'm telling you about what is real. Some of them would think if I can exhume part of his body and I'm going to get his power. That kind of stuff, like real stuff. So he needs to be buried in a safe place. Because I disagree with him all that, when he was alive, but I wouldn't want a situation where he's buried and then people come and vandalize his grave and dig and then take stuff and stuff that is just not so pleasant for the family and for everybody. Why is it important for us when it comes to that, the location where we bury a person?
Yeah. So an African person, does not die. I don't know in Nigerian culture how it works,
He
but
passed
in
away.
our culture, yeah, an African person, when they die, they just go to a higher state. And they influence events on earth.
Okay.
So,
okay.
for
No,
example,
Nigeria is different.
if we bury Solomon in Johannesburg, his spirit is going to be where his body is. The spirit cannot separate with you and be in Nigeria and your body is here. So they have to literally move you to Nigeria so that your kids can then go and communicate with you.
So that's the non-biblical explanation, right?
Well,
That's
that's
the
African.
Traditional
Yes,
African
the traditional, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, it's like your umbilical cord right now. When you were born, they took it and they placed it in your home. I don't know how it works in Nigeria, but in our country, if you're born, they take your umbilical cord and they put it in somewhere in your homestead.
Around the house. Yeah, I seen quite a lot of it here. In Nigeria, where I come from, and what I know, I don't think we have that kind of culture. Like also cultures of ancestors, having ancestors, your uncles or your parents dying and then they become ancestors or whatever they're influencing. We don't really have that much. I think it's really, really very little. Maybe it's because of where I come from.
I'll show you things. When I take you to Zimbabwe, I'm going to show you things that will make you understand our culture. We're very spiritual people. There's no one in Zimbabwe who is not spiritual.
Right.
It's either they're extreme Christian or they're extreme traditional.
African traditional beliefs, yeah.
Yes. Everybody knows about your ancestors. So this is why, for example, you see Mugabe's body is so contagious. He's a father of the nation. His spirit is upon the nation.
I see.
So if you look at someone like TB Joshua, I don't know how it will work, but if they bury him somewhere, I'm sure someone is going to travel to Nigeria thinking that if they go and pray near the grave of TB Joshua, they're going to be
definitely.
healed.
It will be a tourist attraction. It will be a burial. It will be a prayer and retreat place. Even people internationally would actually go in there.
Yes.
Because they believe the spirit will be there, isn't it? The same thing you're talking about.
Correct.
The same thing you're talking about. It's and I think that is it. And also you have to remember TB Joshua is connected to some occultic through some occultic relationship, and they may want to see it some other way. They may want him to be buried in Lagos, in the synagogue, just so the same spirit will continue to captivate people and all that kind of stuff, even though TB Joshua, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier, TB Joshua doesn't have a relationship he doesn't go to other churches to preach in Nigeria, no, because they don't invite him. The so-called big guys don't invite him. The so-called big churches don't invite him. He isn't a member of any of the Christian associations. They actually denied him membership. He tried to be a member of what we call CAN, C-A-N, Christian Association of Nigeria. They denied him. He tried to be a member of PFN, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. They denied him. They said he's not a Christian. Over and over. So he doesn't have a relationship. Outside of Pastor Chris, when he had a very short-lived relationship with Pastor Chris, which was actually said that was where Pastor Chris also received some of these, powers and started doing all these miracles himself, because Pastor Chris was never really into that. He was into preaching the word. Even Pastor Chris was criticized so much for appearing with TB Joshua on TV. So TB Joshua used him to endorse himself, but afterwards they fell apart. So TB Joshua never really had that kind of relationship. But I understand what you're saying in there are people that would always see TB Joshua as a man of God for the rest of their lives. There are people that would always appreciate TB Joshua They have their own reasons. There are people that would always feel his legacy is about divine healing. His legacy is about miracles, you know, and they would want to go to that burial site and create some sort of, you know, prayer, visit or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe his family can actually merchandise that. you never really know.
Look, I think this is a topic for another day.
Yes.
The powers that are upon certain people.
Yeah.
This is not a myth. There is power that is in some people. There's some people that are gifted.
Definitely.
And then what happens is, even if you become a charlatan, your powers don't go away. That's why you see that someone can be a very evil person. They do all those things that you say they're doing. But their powers do not leave them, because I don't think God gives you a gift and then takes it away.
Okay.
So you'll be surprised that when TB Joshua was given his gifts, he remained with those gifts. But then he then lost his way along the way and did all the things that you are talking about.
Yeah.
But then those gifts were still there. He could still heal someone.
Activated. Yeah.
Probably on the other side, on the other team now. You know.
Yeah. The Bible is clear, you know, the gifts and the callings of God are without repentance. And I have to be honest with you, most charlatans and false prophets that I know, the people like the Bushiri and all that, they started on a good note. They didn't start because they wanted to be charlatans. They didn't start because they wanted to deceive people. No. 99% of them didn't want to become charlatans. They really wanted to serve God. That's what they wanted to do. But obviously, we're all human. We get tempted. We get opportunities to do things. The church is not growing, and we want to grow the church by all means. And we get invited to go see a witch doctor who promised he was going to give us this and that if we do this and that. And then we got sucked in there. And then we're caught up. But like you said, the gifts are there. You know, it might be used totally different sometimes. And it's sad. It's sad because we have a lot of other younger people that are coming in. But I believe that each and every one of us has a gift, even if it's not spiritual gift to prophesy or to do whatever. But you know, we're Africans. We identify that way early, and we know that, and we try to use that, you know, to be able to solve problems sometimes, help people, you know. Yeah, so, you know, we can go on and on.
No, sure. Thanks very much, Solomon. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, thank you so much. And guys, please follow Pardon Gambakwe. He has a platform called Gambakwe Media on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Please follow, subscribe. A lot of his content are actually not my kind of content. So he's not exclusively Christian. You know, there's political content, there's economical content, there's entertainment and all that kind of stuff all together. So please go visit, like, subscribe, and also follow. That is very, very important. But thanks a lot, man. There's like about 1,200 people actually viewing right now. And we're going to shut down with 1,200 people on Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Don't forget, I invited you to Zimbabwe. Don't forget that. I want to take you to Zimbabwe. I want you to see these prophets and to see our country. Okay.
I hope they're not going. I hope they're gonna like me. But I mean, you know, to be honest with you, sometimes I love to interrogate people that I don't even agree with, or spend time with people that I don't agree with. That way I'm probably going to know them. But yeah, so thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. My light just went off. But
thank you very much, and good night to everybody.
Thanks a lot, bro. Good night, and God bless you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's Pardon Gambakwe. He has, please follow him on other platforms. He's a journalist and a media person. So thank you so much, guys. You have had my opinion, and just really wanted to put things out there just so people would understand a little bit and have some sort of perspective. And also, if anything has changed, nothing has changed, things are changing. But thank you so much for being there tonight. And may God bless you and keep you. May you continue to be a shining light for him wherever you go. I thank you, and may the good Lord continue to bless you. I saw a lot of comments, but unfortunately, I cannot read a lot of the comments. Esther is saying, Solomon, your hate for prophet is too much. He's no more. Why? I don't hate TB Joshua, but I hated the things that he did. It's so simple. I don't hate TB Joshua. I've been praying for TB Joshua for so many years in my life. I'm sure you had never prayed for TB Joshua. Carrie here is saying, Solomon, don't go to Zim. Okay, we'll see about that. We'll see about that, okay? Rebecca is saying, don't go, it's a trap. Okay. People are saying, don't go. Don't go here. Dr. Mensa here is saying, pray before you go. Okay, guys. Okay, Chief and Babe is saying, do not go to Zim. Okay. Thank you, guys. May God bless you again, and may he keep you. May you continue to seek him first in all that you do. God bless you, and good night.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.